It really changed everything. The story changed everything for me. Everything. Hi friends, it's me, Tisha, and I am back with another climber story. And this one really hits home. This one is very, very personal to me. Very personal. And it's the story of Joel Metz. Joel was a 28-year-old tower climber from Plainfield, Indiana. And in July of 2014, he was working on a cell phone tower in Kentucky. If you're new to this channel, cell phone climbers, tower climbers, are the men and women who climb cell phone towers to build them, to modify them, to even decommission or dismantle them. Without these men and women, we would not have 24/7 connectivity that we crave and that we're used to, that we depend on so heavily. So when you see a cell phone tower, know that there's a human behind that tower that constructed it, but who also makes sure that it continues to work so that we have service all the time. So that was Joel's job. Joel was a telecommunications tower climber. He was also a father to 3 very young boys. He was a friend, he was a son, he was a companion. He was many things along with being a tower climber. And at the time, him and his crew had been working in Kentucky for, I think, the week. I'm not sure how many days they were on site when his accident occurred, but they had been at this particular site for a few days, I think, my understanding is. And the job that they had was they were taking down some old equipment off of the cell phone tower and they were putting new equipment up. So they were going to, remove some old antennas and they were going to build the new antenna system on the ground and then lift it up the tower. On the morning of the accident, Joel had posted a photo on Facebook of his view on the tower. I think he was like 200 feet in the air on the cell phone tower. And in the picture, he's smiling. You can see the view. It's beautiful. It was a clear, beautiful day. And he seemed happy. And that's the thing, about climbers. Many of them really love it. They love the work. They love the climb. They say that there's nothing like the view, being up in the air like that. It's peaceful. So Joel, from at least what you can see from the picture, seemed to be enjoying the day. That afternoon, they were ready to lift the new boom, which was the apparatus that houses the antennas. They were ready to lift that up the tower. It was Joel and another climber on the tower. And then there were guys that were part of his crew that were on the ground. So they're lifting the equipment, and the weight of it was, I think, 1,800 pounds. So I'm talking a really heavy piece of this apparatus was very heavy. So they're lifting the boom of antennas up the tower, and they hear a loud pop. The pop was a cable that was part of the rigging. And when it snapped, it made that loud sound that some of the other climbers, some of the other crew members made mention of when they were recalling the story. And that cable, I guess it flew across Joel, decapitating him and slicing off one of his arms. His body hung in the harness that it was in for close to 5 hours before rescue could get it down. 5 hours in July on a tower until rescue could get him down. I heard the story because at the time I was working in telecom. I work in telecom. I've worked in telecom for 20 years. And I'm ashamed to say this, but it's true that even though I have worked in telecom, tower climbers were not on my radar. I was very unfamiliar with the job that they do, or the dangers associated with it. I didn't know. So my best friend also works in telecom, and after work he called me and he said, "You won't believe the story that I heard today of a climber who died." He then recalled the story to me as I just explained it to you, and I couldn't believe it. For one, I couldn't believe it, and then I couldn't shake it. It was a Friday that he told me, and that whole weekend I was just thinking about this story. I went online to see what I could find about it, and there was very little information at that point. But I kept digging. The next week came, and I kept digging. Finally, I found an article that gave a little bit more information, a little bit more of the details surrounding the accident, and I found his obituary. And this fact of the story also just has stuck with me all of these years. I already felt like this connection to this person who I had never met before, and I was kind of unsure why I felt this strange connection to him. But then his funeral, in the obituary, it said that his funeral was held on July 10th. July 10th is my birthday. And so I couldn't shake this feeling that on July 10th in Pennsylvania, myself and my family were celebrating my life. And in Indiana, his friends and family were mourning his. The company he was working for at the time was Fortune Wireless. And what happens is when there's an accident, OSHA goes out to investigate. So OSHA went out, they investigated the accident, and they cited the company with 3 safety violations in connection to the accident. So 3 things that they found were wrong, were their fault, that contributed to Joel's death. The initial proposal for the penalties for those 3 violations was $14,700. So when I saw that, I thought, $14,000 for his life? It felt insane to me. Like, I thought that can't be right. But the company contested the citations, and 2 of the violations were later deleted. So the company contested not wanting to pay out to the family the $14,700, and they had a final settlement that was paid out to his family of $4,900. There's nothing else to say about that. Joel Metz changed my life. That's the truth. I've never met him. I didn't know him. He didn't know me. I don't know his political affiliation, his religion, his favorite color. But none of that matters. What I know is that I heard a story back in July of 2014 about a man who lost his life in a heinous, heinous way. And I felt that it was just unjust. I felt that it was tragic, and I couldn't let it go. I have spent so much of my time thereafter talking to climbers all over the world about the work that they do, about the struggles, about the highs, about the lows, about family life, about life on the road. all of it. Fair pay, lack of fair pay, union, no union, all of it. I took all of those experiences and I wrote the film High. I started High the movement. I devoted my life to advocating for tower climbers because of Joel Metz. I don't know what the saying is. I can't remember what the saying is, but there's a saying. It's something like, or it's like a analogy of someone asking, I think it's like something like, oh, do you know where, like, someone's eating like scrapple and someone says, oh, do you know what that's made of? And the other person says, I don't know. I don't want to know. I don't care. It's just good. I like it. So I'm just going to eat it. I don't want to know. And I think that that's kind of how a lot of us sometimes live life. We don't want to know the bad stuff. We don't want to know the stuff that will affect us in a negative way. We want to just go about life living it happy, you know, like it's what it is. It's not my problem. I mean, I think I probably do that too. But I couldn't do it here. There was something about this that made me stop and say, this has to be a unique situation. But sadly, it's not. Climbers lose their lives in heinous ways, and very few people are talking about it. Very few people know about it. And when it comes time to pay, we see in this case, very little do the family get when a climber tragically loses their life on the job. I don't want this to feel like I'm on a soapbox or I'm someone special who is, you know, admonishing you to like pay attention. It's not what this is. But Joel Metz was a person. He was a human. He was a kid. He was 28 years old. He had his whole life ahead of him. He was doing a job that he loved. He was doing a job that we depend on. And he lost his life in a heinous way. And there were very little consequences. Very little consequences. Joel's story changed my life for the better, I think, for the better. They say that when something bad happens, something beautiful comes from it. And I like to think that Joel, even though he doesn't know it, or maybe he does, something really beautiful came from his death. And I'm grateful for Joel because he's connected me with so many great human beings all around the world who inspire me, who inspire me to be better and have given my life meaning at times when I really felt there wasn't much meaning. So I want to thank Joel for all that he's done for me. And I want to thank climbers for all that they do for all of us. So remember, behind every tower that you see, there's a human. There's a human. Someone with a life, someone with a family, someone who matters. Someone with a story. Today's story is about Joel Metz. Please take care of yourselves. Take care of each other, and I will see you the next time. Bye.